Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. This is actually going to be the first of two videos coming from the test server. The first one I want to dedicate to the title of this video, so it's already spoiled already. But the second video is going to be more covering all the changes that have happened to allies since my previous video. Just you guys are up to date on the passive abilities. So let's get into the spoiler. We have a new ally. It's Nubia. And of course, it's a legendary. I mean, I really don't think we expect anything else besides legendary. It hasn't been confirmed, but I would probably say there's a 99.9% chance that it's only going to be on the marketplace, just like all the other legendaries. I mean, it's possible that they give this to us for free because of the Wonder Woman content that's coming out next month, in terms of like Save the Universe content. So we already had Superman and Foss. We're having Batman right now, and then Wonder Woman comes later. So there's a slight chance it could come free in that, but I would say more it's just they're releasing it a part of that content, so then it's still going in the marketplace and unpurchasable on the vendor. But at this time, I can't confirm that, but I would say that's a very strong possibility because the precedent is already set. So we'll jump into the DPS ability, Combat to Me, and there's also two passives. The first one is going to be, upon executing a block counter, heal yourself and nearby allies for a percentage of HP. That's Amazonian Poultice. And then Amazonian Honor, upon defeating an enemy, increase might for yourself and all nearby allies for small. It also says might and precision, but that's the other thing too. I mean, we can't speak too much for the descriptions of the abilities, but I'll show those results later in the video. But I'm just saying that it says increase might for yourself and all nearby allies, but it also says prec at the same time. And then for this one, it says executing a counter, but then here it says block counter. So once again, descriptions aren't really, I mean, the descriptions are really ambiguous, but I mean, that's kind of par for the course. So I wanted to touch on the DPS ability right now, which is going to be To Me. Slams the ground, knocking away enemies, and pulsing out 2 heals. Now, before I jump to the spreadsheet results, I will say that the sparring targets is going to be a tad bit inconclusive in terms of damage results, which I'll show why on the sparring targets and also in practice in content. So, if we just get in combat here, we're going to summon Nubia. And you can see massive pushback in terms of damage. So the reason why it's being conclusive is that obviously you can soften the sparring targets. They're going to blink back to their positions, where regular adds are just going to be knocked away. I mean, that was probably probably 20 meters or so, but they're not going to blink back. So you'd have to pull them back as a tank. So if you're a DPS using this and knock all the targets away, there's no way that you're going to get the follow-up damage because the adds aren't going to be there. So that's personally, to me, that's a bit of extreme pushback. I understand it's supposed to knock targets away, but I mean, if you're like a controller or a DPS or something using this, then targets are going to be flying all over the place. So let's jump to Flashpoint Gotham just to show you how this works in actual practice on NPCs, and then we'll jump to the spreadsheets. Okay, so now that I have a tad bit more realistic of an example, especially if you're using this as a tank, you're surrounded by enemies. So now we can use Nubia here, summon it. So it knocked away all those adds. There's still some that it didn't knock away because it resisted, but at the same time, you're not going to get that full damage because all the enemies that it knocked away aren't going to get hit by that follow-up attack, unless you're pulling them back immediately. So that's just something to be mindful that take the DPS numbers with a small grain of salt, because you aren't going to get that full damage results because it's focused more on the CC effect of it, of knocking back the targets, where unless you're pulling back immediately, you're not going to have those targets there. So let's jump to the spreadsheets. So you can see kind of under best case scenario results what the damage is going to be, and then we'll jump to the passive abilities. Okay, so jumping over to the spreadsheets, we're taking a look at the Nubia's damage. So like you saw in the footage, it's technically 5 targets, 15 hits. It's a 3 times AoE burst. But at the same time, if the adds get knocked away, you're not going to get that follow-up damage because they're not going to be in range of its ability. Sparring targets is consistent like that because they're going to blink back, where obviously allies aren't going to do that, or NPCs aren't going to do that in actual combat. But, I mean, So take these numbers as a best case scenario number. So best case scenario, if the tank pulls the ads back right away and it hits everything again, then if it's fit 5 targets, you're looking at about just under 400k damage. And then the difference is through the tiers, which is, about 20k each time. So that's much more standard. If you're looking for comparison's sake, just under 400k. Flashpoint Batman's about 350. Now this is a bit more consistent now that they have fixed the kind of consistency with that third grenade, where Flashpoint Batman could be a little bit tricky with that third grenade. Plus it's going to do more boss damage with the dual pistol attacks. If you're looking how this stacks up against like Cyborg's still going to be, by clear the AoE favorite. It's much easier. Well, I wouldn't say it's easier to use it on AoE, but if you use it Cyborg properly with how the projectiles are based and line it up properly, then you can get much more AoE damage than you would any other ally. But slight learning curve to Cyborg in terms of making sure that projectile hits the proper targets. But that's essentially how it stacks up. But you're not necessarily using Nubia for the combat ability. The passives are always an option as well. Because at the same time, if you're like a DPS controller or healer using Nubia for DPS, all the ads are going to be flying away every 90 seconds. The tank's going to have to pull them back, which could have some synergy in some situations. But at the same time, that can be a little bit hectic in terms of the CC on it, because you saw that the pushback was quite effective. So we'll see in the end. But and considering that, once again, since Nubia is a legendary, that's $200 to get that 394 damage, and Cyborg is, well, technically free. Just through the daily login rewards, you can easily have an epic leveled, but epics are not that expensive anyway. So if you want to compare it in terms of like value sake, then Nubia still, to get that, even if you're leveling Nubia just to get the passives, then that's rank 6. So that's 219k damage, where that's going to be less than like any of the rares or anything. So you just have to put that full $200 in to get that 400k damage, which is not realistic just for that. But we'll take a look at the passives next and see if that actually brings up the value of Nubia. So let's take a look there. Okay, so we kind of jump in the middle of this, but we have Nubia as our support ally, the number 1 slot, Amazonian Poultice, or Poultice. Upon executing a block counter, heal yourself and nearby allies for a percentage of HP. On the forums, the description says that it's any counter, and I'm seeing no counters. So let's take some damage. I'm in Teen Titans just on the bounty. So I've taken some damage. I'll wait for him to counter next. So that's a lunge, nothing. Let's see if I can get him to... There's a block break, no heal. Another lunge, no heal. Block, no heal. So it would seem like it doesn't work. Let's try, see if I can get a regular NPC. Maybe it just doesn't work on boss NPCs. So, I mean, that was all 3 counters. Let me go to the other side of the island here. I think those invader bots have a bit more health. I'm in Titan's Island because someone is fighting Doomsday, and then now Doomsday's buffed and he's not counterable when he's buffed. It's annoying. Let's do it here. So he can lunge me. Get down a bit in health. Now it should be 4% of my health. Well, because this is at 10, at the rank 10, but should be 4% of my max health to myself and to the group. So this is just testing solo at the moment. Okay, that's nothing on a block break. See if I can get him to lunge me. Of course. Gotta get out of there. Are you gonna lunge me? Okay, nothing on a block counter. Not the faint. Nothing on the block counter again. So, does not proc the heal when used on counters, at least in open world. On that's on NPC and on a boss NPC. So let's try see if it heals in the group effect. So let me just grab a group member here and take a look. Okay, nothing on a block counter. Don't think we get another one. There's another block counter. Nothing. There's a block breaker. Nothing. Oh, it's too late. See if I can get a lunge one more time from him. Block breaker again. Nothing. Yeah, he's gonna kill me here. But I mean, even to show that, I mean, it's equipped. Support ability, supported ally 1 upon executing a block counter, even though the forms say any counter, heal yourself and nearby allies for percentage of max health, which is supposed to be at rank 10, 4%. So, I don't know. Par for the course. Once again, I mean, is it too hard to ask for passives just to work when they're released? I mean, is that honestly asking too much to have things work? I mean, we understand what this is supposed to be. Like, if I get a counter, I'm supposed to get a heal for 4% of my max health, and then the same thing, I'm supposed to get the allies or the group near me supposed to get a heal as well. It's, you know, self-explanatory. I have no idea how that cannot work because, I mean, I'm getting successful counters, even though the forms say any counter. So if you read the description on the forms, it says, upon a successful counter, heal for a percentage of max health, heal again for a percentage of health for self and teammates. So it seems like you get 2 heals. So you get the initial counter self heal, and then for another heal, and then the group heal. But regardless, either one's not working. So kind of inconclusive on here, TBD. I mean, it's not a difficult passive to understand when it's working correctly. It's going to be just an extra kind of small heal. Think of it like the calculator bot heal, basically. Just every time you get a counter. So if it's going to work on boss NPCs, regular NPCs, if it's only a block counter, who knows? We're going to figure that out because there's some ambiguity here, miscommunication between the descriptions. But I can confirm at the moment, support passive 1 is not working as intended. Okay, so taking a look at the second passive, Amazonian Honor. So upon defeating enemy, increase might for yourself and all nearby allies by a small amount. Now, that is misleading because at least on the forms it says it increases might and precision, but the description only says might. At level 10 at least, or no, sorry, level 10 just changes the duration. But the actual, its passive 2 is always going to be 4% might and 8% precision, at least what it says. And then it's going to be the cooldown is, the duration and cooldown is what is impacted by star level. So at level 10, you're going to have 10-second duration, 20-second cooldown. So let's jump and kill some ads. Just so you can show, I have Relentless Prec on. I don't have anything that buffs might. My might's 105. So that's just to show. I've DPS'd them, but I haven't killed anything. So might hasn't changed. Still 105. Let's see if I can just kill one here. Okay, one's dead. Jumps up to 112. Does it show in current effects tab? Does not, because that's the prec neck. So that did not show. So my might should be back down to 105. It's a 20-second cooldown, so we can kind of just pop that just for kind of reference sake on the cooldown. We'll try this again. So it does not show in the current effects tab, which I mean isn't a big deal. I like that the buffs that show there, all the artifact buffs show there. It's just that, you know, it's active. But I mean, you could be able to tell from your numbers because that was 105 to 112. So I mean, you're gonna notice that might increase. So let's just try again. Okay, and that is dead. We'll just kind of watch the stats here. So might's 112. And after 10 seconds, it's going to drop down to 105. So just drop down. And then it starts that 20-second cooldown. So the only issue is that if this passive relies on the tank killing the ads, then that gets a little bit tricky because it's not really common practice for tanks to be killing ads. I mean, yeah, if you're a battle tank, but I mean that's not practical in Elite, and you know, most tanks aren't even designed for that. Like say like your Rage or a Fire. I mean, you just relying on the damage moves like yourself, like Backdraft or Without Mercy, stuff like that. So you're relying on those damage abilities, not not taking anything else like like an Earth tank where it has like Unstoppable or Jackhammer. So it's much more realistic. Ice just has Shield, so your only damaging ability there is like a Frost Slam or Resonating Gale. So it's just tanks are not set up to be killing NPCs. That's not realistic. So let's see if it it applies to a group member, and let's see if the group member applies as well. So, I mean, once again, a DPS could wear this, and then they'd be perfectly fine. I'm just taking a look at this from a tank perspective, because this is certainly more geared to be a tank artifact. But let's just confirm here in the next test. Okay, for the final test, just want to confirm that it is working and applying to group members. So I got my group member here. He's sitting at 74k and 32k buff for precision. So we're going to go over, kill an ad. And we flop back 74,000 and 32. Wait, that didn't apply. Might be because I had to log up. Let's do this again. Let's just wait the 20 seconds. That might be my fault. Okay, let's kill an ad. That one's dead. Flop over. So yeah, 76 and 34. So the buff does apply to allies in the group. We can also take a look and quickly see if this is going to apply or stack with a buff. So we can take Nitro. We'll take a compound. So now my might is going to be 113, or yeah, 113,318. So we'll just wait, make sure it was 20 seconds. Kill this ad. So now it's up to 121. So it does stack with Nitro and Omega, which is plausible. It's going to buff with stack with every other buff. So it just applies what you currently have. So in terms of like a summary, this one is pretty much a 100% automatic as a passive for DPS. There's no reason not to, because even when you unlock it at rank 6, you still have the duration of 6 seconds. You still get the 4% might, 8% precision, regardless of what star level it is. The only thing that changes in terms of how long the buff lasts and how long the cooldown is between the buffs. So whether or not it's worth 200, that's going to be up to you. I mean, obviously, it's still going to be more of a damage increase because of the cooldown. But I mean, at the same time, you may not feel like it's worth it because you're still getting like a 6-second buff or 8-second buff or however much one you want to put into it. And in terms of like a tank ally, that's going to be debatable too. I mean, command presence from Queen Diana, I'm not completely a fan of. But I mean, say a tank takes both. You can take the combat ability to knock all the ads away, then use your pull like Backdraft or Without Mercy, and then that will take that, and then all the enemies are going to be debuffed. So, I mean, there is some synergy for a tank with the Nubia DPS and then the Queen Diana passive. So there's that, but I mean, also those are legendary ones, so you're spending a lot of money on those too. In terms of like Flashpoint Batman, not worth it. In terms of Aquaman, once again, you get the ally cooldown reduction, so more damage from that. Hear My Call is fixed, which we'll see in a future video, probably later today or tomorrow morning, in terms of how that was changed. So, but Nubia, for sure, you could say it is worth it. They'll fix the first passive for tanks that want to do the counter heal. I mean, that can't be that hard to get that fixed. It's just a counter equals a heal. But the combat damage is interesting. Not really consistent for damage, but it does have some synergy with tanks and has a lot of good CC on it. So say if you're a tank like Ice, you can use that as a CC move just to knock all the adds down and away. But certainly Amazonian Honor as a DPS is going to be an automatic regardless. So there's that. Any questions about Nubia, put them in the comment section. And this is all, if you're watching this video, this is still subject to change because this is a test server, so Nubia could change. Obviously, I'll bring those changes, but don't base your entire decision on this video because, once again, things could change by the release. But if it does change, obviously I'll let you know. Follow the channel and subscribe. Take care, guys. Have a good day.